Welcome to the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast, your one-stop shop for television, movie, video games, comic books, book reviews, and more. Now, without further ado, here's Steven and Mike.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out to listen to us do a lot of just talking. I'm just teasing everybody. Hey, we do thank you for joining us here. I am your co-host, Stephen Boster, along with the one and only other co-host, Mr. Michael Shanks. Mike, say hey to everybody.
Good morning to all you geeks out there in Geekdom land.
Great to have you here with us. Can you hear my dogs in the background?
I do.
They are going berserk all of a sudden. I'm not sure what's happening or what's going on. There must be a dog outside or something. Holy cow. Hopefully we're not getting invaded by aliens or something.
Maybe we're getting invaded by Lokis.
Maybe. So that's a great intro to our discussion today. Mike, as you've alluded to, what is our topic for today?
Today is Marvel's Loki. So we put this off a little bit because we didn't want to do Loki episodes each week while we were doing Bad Batch episodes, which we're getting ready to wrap that up next week. It just would have been too much to do one of our regular episodes, do a Bad Batch episode, do a Loki episode.
Yeah,
I mean that's
we're working guys. Right? We don't have that much time.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is not our job.
Right.
As much as I would like it to be, it is not our job. So, yeah, we have to work a real job and live a real life, and so on and so forth. So we only have so much time, and we took on a big subject, just taking on geek culture and, taking on Marvel, DC, Star Wars, classic sci-fi, anything that comes up. And
I mean, realistically, we could almost do one a day, if not two a day.
Oh, sure. Yeah, very true. I don't know if I have the energy to do one every day. I don't know how radio guys do it, man. But of course, they're making big money, so
they're making money. It's their job. It's their 40 hour. We don't have an extra 40 hours per week.
Right? No kidding. No kidding. It would be fun if we did, but yeah.
Right.
So we decided we're gonna now. I know it's been a few weeks, but we had a couple other things on the agenda before Loki, and we figured, all right, let's do some Loki now. So here we are.
Yeah. So one of the things that Mike and I laughed about is that we're like, should we do this like how we did our Bad Batch episode? Should we just take each episode and break it down? And I'm like, no, because that's like 8 weeks of stuff, and I'm alluding to we're getting old. It was like, wait a minute, now what happened? Now, to be open with it, right, Mike?
Besides an 8-hour podcast, that'd be a lot.
That'd be a lot. That would be a lot. Yes. Mike shared a video with me, you guys, by Man of Recaps?
Something like that. Name? I think it's Man of Recaps.
Yeah, where he recapped season 1 like in 6 minutes. And I'm like, that is impressive, and it was fun. So I'm gonna have to check out more of his videos on YouTube. I like that. So we've got a little recap that we did, or we watched. So because that happened and that happened. So we are going to virtual coffee table discussion. So we're just going to talk about it. I'm sure, by now, a lot of you already seen it. You have a good idea about it. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, kind of a thing, just so you know. We're just going to have conversations about it. We're not going to try to recap it. We're not going to try to go through each and every episode. We may chronologically do it, but we're just talking around a coffee table about it, what we liked about it. I think we may get a little more philosophical on this one. I think also we're going to hear me rant about multiverse stuff again, as always. And we'll kind of go from there.
Oh, you better get your multiverse panties out of a tightwad, because you're getting to go full force into multiverse with Marvel right now. So,
oh my gosh, yes, yeah. If there's anything that's going to burn me of my multiverse frustration, I think this show may be it. You know, I heard a guy tell me one time. He goes, I'm not advocating this whatsoever. Okay, this is just for illustration purposes only. He went to this place that would say, "Hey, we'll get you to get rid of your smoking and stuff like that." Or he heard about a place, not that he went, but he heard about a place.
I was gonna say, you smoke?
No, but this guy did.
Are you not telling me something?
No, I do not smoke at all. So that's a long story in itself of why I do not. But he was telling me the story about this place that he heard about, where what they do is have a cigarette, and have another cigarette. So it's not like chain smoking. They make you sick because you're smoking so much. Now, I don't advocate that at all. But it said for this one person, they stopped smoking. It's kind of like if you have rum and Coke and you get sick on rum and Coke, you never have rum and Coke again.
Well, that's any alcohol. That's any alcohol.
Right.
You drink it to so much and you get sick. Yeah.
Right.
And so then you just can't, the smell of that, you'll be like, it makes your stomach turn. So,
right.
So you're saying with the smoking thing, it's the same thing then?
Yes. What I'm saying here is we're talking so much multiverse stuff. It's like my frustration, always talking about frustration of multiverse stuff, is now probably going to be like, I just give up.
I think you're going to have to, if we're going to keep delving forward into Marvel Universe, because it's just going to go. Obviously, with this series,
I think based upon this series,
yeah.
Yeah, everybody, what I'm doing here is, as you're listening, I just got my hand on my forehead, just shaking my head, going, I think the whole new phase of Marvel is
all multiverse. Yep, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah,
I got news for you. I think we're heading into that with DC too. Well, I think with the Flash movie, that's what we're going to get. We're going to kind of get a rebooting of the DC cinematic universe, and I believe it's going to be a multiverse thing too. So buckle your seatbelt, buddy.
So here, yeah. So all right. So we're already talking multiverse before we get into Loki, because if you've watched Loki, what is Loki all about?
The
multiverse,
right?
You know, and there's some funny stuff that we're going to talk about that was quite enjoyable and fun. And I did, in all openness, I did enjoy the series as a whole. I did.
I thought it was a fun series. I really liked it.
It was. I think the actor who plays Loki, Tom Hiddleston.
Yes.
You know, he was executive producer on it, and so I think he had a certain vision for his character to have fun with it, and to have fun with the series. Is serious but yet funny. So
here's a fun fact about him. Did you know that when he tried out, he actually tried out for the Thor part?
Oh, did he really?
Yeah. Now, can you imagine him as Thor?
Yeah, no.
Me neither.
That's 2020. That's after the fact kind of a thing. But still,
sure.
Unless that was what he was hoping for, is he'd get the training and they would pay for all his training and his, steroids to get him bigger.
But yeah, I cannot picture him as Thor at all. I'm like, no, dude, you're Loki.
Yeah, he did a great job as Loki.
He did.
Just fabulous job as Loki. I've enjoyed him in the films. And I think even more so in this series, we see his acting chops. We really do.
Yeah, I think he got a chance to really branch out on his acting in this a lot more than he did in the films, and he did a fantastic job in the films. I'm not saying anything against his performance in the films.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. So multiverse. Let me get this out of the way. Oh, multiverse. Okay, so obviously everybody is hearing
Suck
Steven
it up, Buttercup.
To come to grips. Yeah, he's got to pick himself up by his bootstraps and just move forward. Is really what's happening here. Here, I've said in the past about multiverse stuff is that number one is, lazy storytelling. I will say the Loki series, it made it, because you were including the aspect of multiverse and you're telling the story of a multiverse, it was not lazy writing at all. In fact, I would say it was probably much harder to write for a multiverse than anything else.
And see, that's what I believe. If multiverse is done correctly,
okay,
it opens up opportunities for huge storytelling, and I think that's exactly what this TV series did.
What they're wanting to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so where I've seen multiverse stuff done in the past, just like, oh, let's just throw this in or whatever. We'll just make it a multiverse. That I think is lazy. Here is,
and I think both Marvel and DC have been guilty of being lazy in the past and using multiverse to reset the universe, and just and I would agree that's lazy story writing, and in that aspect, I don't like it either.
Well, see, I thought when DC did Elseworlds, I enjoyed that because that's where you got Gotham by Gaslight.
Sure, but I don't think Elseworlds is. I don't think it's the same thing, though.
It's not.
Right.
It's not. You're right. It is a what if, and so Marvel, of course. I'm so excited. We're getting
Marvel what if. I'm
what
if.
Forward to seeing it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So that's kind of next up for bids here. So that's Elseworlds. I'm totally okay with what if, but in the aspect of what they're doing with Loki, the concept of multiverse is a character in the storytelling.
Agreed.
And that's where I'm like, okay, I think Loki's kind of changed me. Now, when Loki started, to be honest, I wasn't too thrilled about it. But because of the writing and how they did it and how they set it up, and realizing the concept of multiverse is part of the story, not just, hey, we just want to create a new character, or we want to change a character's arc. We want to change a character story because, I'm invested in the characters. I'm invested in their specific story. Like when we did Bad Batch, we talked briefly about the character arc of Crosshair. And that's what I love. That's what I like, their character arcs. But when you throw in multiverse, or how some people throw in multiverse, you're changing the character story arc. And that's where I get frustrated. But here, Loki is changing my mind. This outline is changing my mind about when multiverse is part of the story. You really have to be on your toes with that, and with the story, with writing the story and stuff. And so I'm beginning to change now I'm going to say multiverse within context is whether or not it's lazy or not, kind of a thing. In this aspect with Loki, I don't think it is. And then it makes me wonder with this next phase of storytelling that Marvel's going to do with their movies and TV shows is, okay, they're trying to be, I think probably also give freedom to the directors, because that's the big thing I've heard even about Warner Brother movies has been, do the directors really get to tell their story that they want to tell? And
good point.
And just so everybody knows, we've got upcoming. We'll do Suicide Squad, which I guarantee you is the vision of the director. Guarantee you. When you watch it, Mike, I'm telling you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I plan on watching it later today. So
they let him do what he wanted to do. I'm just telling you, in the first 20 minutes, you're going to be like, they let him do what he wanted to do for the story.
Well, and that's James Gunn. James Gunn directed Guardians.
Yes, he did Guardians of the Galaxy, but I'm telling you, the Suicide Squad, not just Suicide. Okay. You're going to see that. And so I think that's the issue with what multiverse can do for Marvel, and maybe even DC, is let these directors tell their story. Because I remember hearing stories about Marvel that directors were frustrated because they had to put this in, or they had to have this, or they had to do this. And
almost like when we talked to Karen Travis,
yeah.
But that's a part of doing tie-in material. So when you do tie-in material, there's a certain amount that you have to take from the previous writers and so on and so forth. So
yeah. So what I'm saying is that, yes, that's exactly it. And I think I'm coming more to your position here about multiverse and the aspect of we're going to get some really good storytelling because now we're going to get the directors freed up to do what they want to do. And us as fans aren't going to complain as bad about, so, well, that's not my Batman, kind of a thing or whatever.
I think with Loki, I don't know who directed Loki, the Loki TV series, but I'm sure it was different people because they tend to do that. But with Loki, it was almost like they got their own sandbox to play in, which is kind of cool. Okay, here we're going to give you a different sandbox, and you get to play in here, and what you do here.
I still think they had this. You still got to end up here.
Yeah. Oh, there was definitely a plan. I mean, you can see that because it had to connect to the upcoming movies, the next series of movies, and we see that with the ending of the season. So yes, there was a plan. Unlike Star Wars, that had no freaking plan. They just went in by the seat of their pants and said, "Do whatever you want to do." And we got what we got.
Right.
I think Loki was a lot better. Loki was done much better.
It was much more better.
Much more better. There you go.
So that's me. That's my little discussion. Get out of the way on multiverse. I think Loki is the beginning of me changing my view about multiverse and how it's used, and if it's used in context.
Steven's coming around.
That's probably good because our listeners are probably tired of hearing me be grumpy Steven about multiverse stuff.
Come to the dark side, Steven. We have cookies.
You're right. Oh my goodness. So okay. Any other thoughts about multiverse on your part before we start talking about Loki?
No, I actually like the multiverse. I don't grump and complain about it like you do all the time. To me, it's fun because we get to play in so many different sandboxes. I enjoy that. I like seeing different versions of the characters. I'm all up for what if stuff, but I just don't change the character arc of a specific character just to change it. Yeah, but see, in this wasn't a what if, and we got many different versions of Loki. Some I didn't like as much as others, and some I really liked. So, and I thought that was fun. On the DC side, when I think multiverse, I sometimes I look at the different Flashes, and I love so many of the different Flashes. To me, that's just a blast, I enjoy that.
Different versions of Barry Allen or different
no, different Flashes because
that's my point.
You got Barry Allen, you got Jay Garrick, you got Wally West,
But they're all different characters with their own character arcs.
True. But
I agree with you.
But I feel these Lokis, they're different too.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed. Right.
So stop arguing with me.
All right, let's move into Loki. Okay, the show. All right. So, what's your? Should we rate it?
Yeah, I say let's rate it as a whole series. As a whole series. Since we're not going as a full series, I would give this 4.5 Loki daggers.
Oh, all right. I like that.
I mean, let's go with his weapon.
4.5 flaming Loki daggers. Yeah. Okay, I would give it 4 out of 5.
Okay,
4 out of 5 flaming Loki daggers or Loki flaming daggers.
I don't know where you're getting the flaming ones, but okay.
Because it was flaming there with Eliath at the end. He was using it as a distraction.
Yeah, the Jurassic Park distraction.
Right?
That was funny. That was hilarious. I love that.
We're referencing the Man of Recaps video where he called it that. It was pretty funny. He was pretty funny. I like that.
I did too. I'm going to have to watch more of his stuff. That was fun.
Here.
That just came from a fun little YouTube search and
Yeah, for a recap. That's a good idea. That's good. Okay, so in the beginning, obviously we see it starts off right where we're at the end of the first Avengers movie.
That was kind of cool too, seeing the 2012
It was.
It was
You know,
fun.
they tell Hulk to take the stairs.
Yeah, I love that.
And then
And
so
Hulk gets mad. Hulk smash.
Right. And so I loved how he takes the stairs, but then knocks, you know, here, then it's bringing in the whole aspect of Endgame, Avengers Endgame, of where they're getting the Tesseract kind of a thing.
And I love when Loki sees Ant-Man. You just see it in his eyes like, what was that?
What's going on here? Right. So obviously, because Hulk took the stairs, he knocked the Tesseract. That Loki gets the Tesseract, goes to some desert place. He's going to continue his world domination, glorious purpose. And so then all of a sudden we get introduced to the TVA, and they're resetting the timeline. I'm like, what is going on?
Now, I will have to say, I have a love-hate relationship with the TVA.
Hey. All right.
I think the TVA is interesting. I like them in that, you know, in the aspect of them being a pretty interesting adversary for Loki, and well, I guess for everybody technically. What I don't like is how and we find out it's not so much the TVA, it's what's behind the TVA, and how it's actually even more powerful than the Infinity Stones. Because, I mean, like, they have the Infinity Stones, and they're, like, using them for paperweights and stuff like that.
Right. They don't work in that realm or that dimension or whatever. So which is interesting.
There's part of me that doesn't like that. It's like, really? You've built the Infinity Stones up to all of this, and then it's like, oh, yeah, they're just paperweights.
Right? I got a whole drawer full of them.
I mean, there's a funny aspect to it, but then there's a side of me that's like, I don't know if I like that, you know?
Yeah.
So that was one of my dislikes.
Well, what's to keep someone from grabbing some Infinity Stones, going to an alternate timeline or whatever, what have you, or the sacred timeline or whatever, just bringing them with you? Oh, they work here, you know, kind of a thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, an intern walks into the office and oh, what's this?
Right? There you go. There's a new comic for you. The Intern. Oh, gosh. I agree with you. There's some inconsistency. Plus, but that's my issue with multiverse. You know, you've built up all of this 10 years worth of stuff about the Infinity Stones, and in one episode of one, not even a full hour TV show.
Sure.
Disney Plus show, the power of that part of the story, you just threw away.
That was one scene actually.
Yeah, one scene.
And
I'm like, you know. So anyway, so I agree with you, but that's also part of my multiverse.
But that could be the argument that's how powerful using the multiverse is too.
Did you catch that sigh? Did everybody catch that sigh real quick? Let me do it one more time for you.
In case you didn't hear it the first time.
Right, just in case you didn't hear it the first time. But I tell you, that is a good point, because it was meant to set up how powerful this other dimension is, or the powerful abilities of the TVA.
Well, honestly, it's setting up the entire next phase of Marvel is what it's doing.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's kicking off this entire phase. So maybe that's one way of looking at it. It in a way, it's kind of wiping out the old, not totally wiping it out, but saying, okay, that's what was before. We're moving into the future now.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's a way to, you know, leaders in corporations do that too. Where they're like, you know, where one leader leaves and you have another leader come in.
Sure. And
the leader is like, look, we're moving forward. That was the past, and now we're moving forward. Whether it's right or wrong, that remains to be seen. I mean, everyone's 2020. Well, he was a crappy leader, so that was a bad thing to do. Well, either way, leadership, when you're a leader and you come into a situation, you're like, that's the old leader. We're no longer doing that. We're doing things this way.
The way we're doing it now.
And that's the issue of vision. The vision and purpose. And maybe you're right. Look, Infinity Stones, we've already told that story. We're done, and we're throwing it out the window because we need you to be on board for this new story.
Right.
So maybe that's a good thought. I see what you mean. I may not like that, but I see what you mean.
Well, like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with it,
Yeah, right. Okay, funny parts. Let's talk about fun parts of the series. What did you like? Some fun parts of it. Obviously, I think, just thinking of that first episode, this is why I'm bringing this up. When Loki first gets hit with the TVA variant stick, and so time slows down, but he's been hit. He's like,
the hit in the face,
punch, hit in the face.
I love that.
I laughed. I thought, because stuff was still happening, but he was still moving in time. I'm like, oh, that's gotta hurt because you're still feeling it all over and over.
How about when Mobius punishes him and puts him in the time loop? And I don't remember the girl's name.
Lady Schiff.
Yeah, Lady Schiff. She keeps coming in and kicking him in the nuts.
I don't think I can handle that.
I was like, oh, that's horrible, over and over again.
Yeah. Other guys out there, I'm just saying, how many times did you cringe? How many times did you kind of flinch your legs, close your legs because you're like,
oh yeah, we all know that feeling. Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah,
maybe not in the exact way.
Right. Wait a minute. How many times has Marvel done that? That was in Endgame. Didn't what's his name get racked in the balls? He goes, "Oh, you first me on the first try, but you get me on the second. You got both of them on the second try." That was Star-Lord.
Oh yeah. Well, it's kind of like America's Most Funniest Videos, or whatever that show was called. They always had the dad gets nailed in the crotch videos. Yeah. So I guess Marvel said they had to have their own AFV moment, whatever that America's Favorite Videos.
AFV. Uh-huh. Yeah, America's Funniest Videos. Yep. Home videos. Other parts that you like.
Wait a minute, is that dating us again?
Probably. I guess today they're all TikTok videos.
I love the different variants of Loki.
Okay,
that was fun.
Okay,
I mean,
which were your favorites?
Hands down, all-time favorite is Sylvie. Sylvie's awesome.
Okay,
I loved her. She was fantastic.
I did too.
I actually would not mind a TV series with just Sylvie. I think that would be fun. Getting her in her realm, learning more about her. I would enjoy that. Next after Sylvie, well, of course, my favorite is our Loki. Then Sylvie.
Our Loki variant.
Yeah.
Our Loki variant. Yes. I thought he was fabulous.
I don't think he's a variant. I think he is Loki, but that's just my thinking.
Okay.
Then, of course, Sylvie.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to go classic Loki after that. That was
the actor Richard Grant, right? That's the actor.
He was in Star Wars too.
What was he in Star Wars?
He was one of the Imperial commanders in
New Hope.
No. In the sequel trilogy, unfortunately.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I remember right, he's.
Oh wait, you're expecting me
General,
to remember
He's General Hux's father, if I remember right.
Oh really?
Yeah. He was in Star Wars. So
I'll have to go back.
Kudos to him. That's a classic actor right there.
He really is. From my understanding, I mean, he is a classic English actor, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, classic Loki was great.
Yeah, and I almost wouldn't mind seeing even like a mini series of him. I think that's what they should do. They should either give him a mini series or do a web series. That would be fun too. Just with classic Loki in that green and yellow classic Marvel
classic
look.
Outfit. Yeah,
I loved it. I loved that. Oh my gosh. The comic book geek in me just went crazy. The big giant horns and yeah.
The whole
it was fantastic, man. I loved it.
It was great.
And then
I love how he went out.
Yeah. Yeah. He had a hero's moment, didn't he?
He sure did.
Hero's death.
Sure
He didn't die of peanut allergies, that's for sure.
Right.
That's what we referenced in an earlier episode. That was Spider-Man that we were talking about. That
yeah.
It would suck if Peter Parker died of a peanut allergy.
Peanut allergy, right?
So Loki definitely did. Classic Loki definitely did not die of a peanut allergy. That was awesome. And then, as an honorable mention, I will give it to Alligator Loki.
Right on.
Just because I thought that was hilarious.
Now, I heard that there was an Easter egg to the frog Loki.
Yes, there was. Yes, there was.
No.
So I don't remember which episode, but there's one episode where the camera drops down and you see just all this stuff.
It's that, if I remember right, it's the first episode past where Loki got pruned. Like coming into that one.
I believe you're right.
That was 7? Was that 7?
Something like that.
Yes. Yeah, it was 7. Episode 7.
Okay.
The beginning of episode 7, I think. Yeah.
So the camera drops down and we see little frog.
We see Thor's hammer too.
Yeah, we see Thor's hammer. Frog Loki is in a jar, and Frog Loki is trying to get Thor. I can never say the name of Thor's hammer. I never get it right.
Millionaire, whatever. Yeah,
whatever.
Thor's hammer.
Yeah, Thor's hammer. I cannot say that name right. But yeah, Frog Loki's like jumping and trying to get to it.
Frog Loki or Frog Thor?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was Frog Thor. Frog Thor. Oh, gosh.
You know, that's what I love about Google and checking stuff on the Frog Thor.
This is why Megan's going to get mad at me and go, see, you should have had me on the episode because I knew it.
Yes. Yeah, it was...
Just to let you know, Megan wanted to be a part of this episode, but I only have one mic and one set of headphones, so I can't really bring her.
This says it was episode 5.
It might have been. I don't remember.
It was in episode 5, so it's my bad on that.
It's been a few weeks.
Episode 5, really? Anyway, yeah, it is. He is in the bottle. Yeah, it is Frog Thor.
There you go.
Trying to get Millionaire.
Fun little Easter egg, though. I like that. I thought it was funny. And honestly, I really didn't know much about Frog Thor until that episode happened because I was like, wait a minute, what was that jumping around? Because I couldn't make it out at first. And then, of course, I watched some YouTube videos and then got the background on it and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought it was fun. It was a good little Easter egg.
Thank goodness for YouTube videos that give us the little Easter eggs. You know what I mean?
Man, what did we do before YouTube? Right.
We looked it up in an encyclopedia paper.
No,
we had that door-to-door salesman that sold it to us for $1,400.
Or we're searching through our comic books or going to our friend's house going, hey, do you got this comic?
Right. Let's hit the comic book shop and see if we can find this comic.
Yeah.
Or let's ask the comic book owner.
Right.
Shop owner. You may know or know somebody. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I did plenty of that back in the day.
Yeah.
I remember that. Something come up and I'd be like, hey, wait a minute. How does that connect? Now, wait a minute. I'll go down to... back then it was Silver Spoon in Belleville. Silver Spoon was my comic shop of the, of the time that I used to go to then. And then
they were really nice. Yeah, I remember them. They were
Silver
really
Spoon
nice.
was great. I was sad when Silver Spoon closed.
Did they really?
Oh, they closed years ago. Yeah.
Wow, dude, it's been 30 years since
they've been closed since before you left here.
Really?
Yeah. And then Fantasy was the one that took over.
Maybe it was Fantasy. I'm referencing.
Fantasy still.
Fantasy. Wasn't it a mom and a daughter?
Silver Spoon? No, it was an old guy.
No, I'm talking about Fantasy.
Oh, Fantasy. No.
I'm thinking of something else.
If I remember, I've met the owner several times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I got a funny story. So, sidebar. So Fantasy in Belleville was down the street from where all the parades in Belleville would end. So when Megan was in school and Megan was in marching band, I'm always at the end of the parade waiting for her to get done so we can hop in the car and go. Anyway, so, and I was always there early. So I get there, get a spot, and I'm standing there. It's just me. Brenda had to work, so she wasn't there. And I'm bored. And I'm like, you know what? Fantasy's only about 2 blocks away. I'm going to walk down to Fantasy Books. So I go down to Fantasy Comic Book Shop and get down there and realize, man, they're not open yet. So started to walk away. And as I'm walking away, the door opens. The owner sticks his head out and he goes, "Hey, come back."
That's awesome.
I was like, cool. He goes, "We're not open yet, but I know you. Come on in." So he
spend some money, please.
Yeah, so he let me in, and I did. I bought a few comics, so because I'm like, well, I ain't got nothing else to do. Why don't I pick up a couple of comics?
Right.
I think I picked up a Batman comic.
Right.
A couple of Batman comics. So just.
Hey, I don't think we can mention DC in the middle of a Marvel episode. No, I'm just kidding.
You know what? When Marvel starts giving us a few pennies, yeah, then I'll worry about it. Until then, yeah, I'll mention DC all I want. All right, little sidebar, but anyway.
Nice little sidebar. So we were talking about how we would get information from the comic book shop, or even we were in the shops. I know some people, you just ask a question and somebody else in the store would pipe in.
That's true.
You know, which was a neat culture. You know, I don't know if we really have that anymore, kind of a thing. That's what I love about Dominic Pace going to all the shops across the United States to help encourage people to go to the comic book shops and stuff like that.
Oh, I think Free Comic Book Day's coming up soon too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, it got postponed because of
COVID.
Because normally it's in May, but they didn't have it in May, and I think it's either this month or next month. I forget which. Okay. So we'll have to we'll post something on our Facebook page when I see exactly when it is and let everyone know. If you don't know, Free Comic Book Day is a day when all I won't say all. Most of the big comic book companies, they put out a special free comic, and you can hit most of your comic book shops and get copies of that free comic. So when Free Comic Book Day comes up, support your local comic book shop and go hit them up and get some free comics and, give them a little love and maybe a few pennies to buy a different comic. And when I say a few pennies, I mean a few bucks.
Right. They're not as cheap as they used to be.
Ain't that the truth?
I remember when they were 35 cents.
Yeah, I remember the little Marvel thing. It says still 35 cents.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember when they went up to 65 cents. They're like, dang, 65 cents.
Yeah, and then it was $1.50, and yeah.
Oh, that's like $4.
Yeah, no kidding.
For one. Anyway, okay, so. The whole point we got on this whole tirade was about information and learning and stuff. And we're trying to, different aspects of the story. We were talking about Frog Loki, not Frog Loki, Frog Thor. So other things that you like. So wait a minute. You just named off your, which Lokis you liked, or we're talking about things you liked, but you said you liked the Lokis. And so then we went through which ones were your favorite.
Right.
And stuff. What else about the series or about the show did you like?
I thought it was cool that we got the background on Sylvie, and we saw young Sylvie Loki. Mm-hmm. And do you know who that is? Do you know who the little girl that played her?
Oh no,
That is Little Ray from A New Hope. So when we see the young,
you mean from Force Awakens?
Or yeah. I did say A New Hope, didn't I? Yes, I meant the Force. That's why you were looking at me like a deer caught in headlights. What the heck is wrong with him? Ray wasn't in A New Hope. Yes, that's what I meant. The Force Awakens.
Force Awakens. Oh,
so we got young. She's the one that played young Ray, and she also plays. Judith in The Walking Dead. Little ass kicker.
Really?
Yes. She plays Judith in Walking Dead.
For those of you that watch The Walking Dead may know what you mean. I don't watch The Walking Dead.
Okay.
I stopped after season something.
Well, Daryl, when Judith was born, Daryl nicknamed her Little Ass Kicker, which I always thought was cool. So,
gotcha.
And she's a great character in The Walking Dead. Good little actress. So it was fun that she was in Loki and she got to be Sylvie.
Sylvie.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. So
neat. Well, let's see. I enjoyed. I will say I enjoyed, as far as the Lokis go. I love the concept of the different Lokis. I was like, what? Okay, each one has its own character.
Yes,
that's my. Each one has its own character and stuff. I did enjoy the fact that when Loki was sitting there watching, they had the little holograms of all the different Lokis popping up. It looked like there was a Hulk Loki or something. I was like, I'd love to see that kind of a thing. That may be all we get and stuff. But
right,
I did enjoy Sylvie. Not just the aspect of, it was going to be a girl Loki, a woman Loki, excuse me. So, it was just like, okay. But actually, I thought she did a great job.
I did too.
The actress did just really good with this Loki and understanding, glorious purpose.
Okay. And see, I didn't feel this was, okay, we have to sex swap a character just for,
just for whatever, right.
Just for whatever reason.
Instrumental to the story.
Right. It played a purpose in the story, and she was a really good character. Plus, she brought enough to the character that she made it her own character. I did not feel that she was our Loki just turned into a girl. I felt she was her own character. And because of that, I really enjoyed her. I thought she was great.
So, yes, which leads me to one of the other funny elements for me. Not that it probably was funny, but I thought it was funny. Was so, they're on the planets where it's exploding or it's blowing up or it's going through that cataclysmic, event, whatever. And then they, all of a sudden they touch hands and it spikes. What's this crazy spike in the, thing and all? World changing. And I thought to myself at that point, yes, Loki really is in love with himself.
Okay, yeah, let's get into that. Let's talk about that. Okay. My daughter hated that. Especially when we got the kiss at the very end
in the last episode.
Episode, she really, really hated that. She did not want that to happen. There's this side of me that goes, "That's icky."
Right.
That's just icky. But there's also this side of me that goes, "That's freaking Loki." That is right. So Loki.
It's so Loki.
And like you said, it just shows he's in love with himself. and
right.
I'm like, yeah, and he is. He is so in love with himself.
It's the power of love. Dun, dun, da, 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 da. You're right.
Now, is it wrong? Yeah, it's kind of a little wrong. But
that sets up a whole new realm and a whole new concept of multiverse. What ethics are what's right, what's wrong?
Look, I don't ever want to see the two different Barry Allens from the movie universe to the TV. I don't want to see them kissing. Okay, I don't want to see that at all.
But what if it's Barry Allen and Barriette Allen?
I don't know. It depends.
That's what
on
we have here. We have a male version and a female version,
right? And see, I felt that Sylvie was enough of her own character
that she really wasn't a Loki.
That she wasn't really a Loki.
Sylvie. She's not Loki. She's Sylvie.
Right. I
agree. I agree with you.
And maybe that's why it wasn't so wrong to me.
It wasn't so icky for you.
Right. It was a little icky. It was a little icky because I was like, wait a minute. This. Right, but I like how you said it. It shows that he really is in love with himself. And I wholeheartedly believe that.
That's what I saw in all that. That's what I when it first occurred. Before we really knew who Sylvie was or her character or her backstory or, that kind of a thing.
I questioned whether she was really a Loki, actually.
Agreed. Agreed.
I was like, because I felt she was so different from him. I was like, I'm not even sure she's really a Loki. I kind of think she just says.
Well, is she the daughter of the Frost Giants or whatever? Because that's really Loki. Isn't Loki the son of the Frost Giant guys?
Well, yeah, Loki isn't he adopted? Actually, he's not.
Yeah,
he's not Thor's blood brother, is he?
No.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
I know.
Interesting.
There is a concept that is out there amongst. There's these tribes, and I forgot where they're at, but they have the concept called a peace child, where two warring tribes, when they make a peace treaty, the leader of each tribe, they swap sons.
Oh, wow.
So they have sons that they swap, and they're called the peace child. So as long as that child is there, because you don't want to risk killing you're killing one of your own tribe members, so they don't fight. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's what I saw kind of in the same thing to a certain degree, and what was happening with Loki being from the other, warring with the Frost Giants thing, even though it's not quite that simple or complicated. But
sure.
That's kind of where I saw Loki, even though he was the god of mischief.
Right.
It's like, what? I do think one of the things I did like about it was it seemed to flesh out the concept of a Loki within this series. In other words, they always survive. They're survivors.
Right.
I will survive, kind of a thing. But
nice.
They're destined to create havoc or whatever. And I thought, man, that was interesting, because we heard that from Mobius, which I loved his character. I do like Owen Wilson, though. So
yeah, Owen Wilson was he was a lot of fun in this too.
Did we get a wow in this? Wow. He like says that in almost every single movie that he's in. Wow.
I don't remember.
I've seen YouTube clips of where they've taken all his wows and put them all together in one short video.
He had to have done it somewhere.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure he probably did. We could probably look that up on Google. So I did enjoy, I did thought that was kind of funny that Loki, yep, we confirmed it. Loki is in love with himself.
So awesome.
Right? I will say I did enjoy classic Loki's how he went out. I loved it.
Oh, fantastic.
Absolutely loved it. And it was really good because I think it was doing some storytelling, world building on the aspect that Loki has this ability to enchant. And classic Loki had the most powerful, where, Sylvie had it. But for some reason, our Loki variant, for whatever reason, it wasn't as powerful with him, or he just didn't realize what he could do with it. But how he went out, just building Asgard, doing that to distract Eliath, and with the music going, and the music was reminiscent of Wagner's The Valkyrie. So it wasn't quite the same, but yet it was taken from that, and I was like, yeah,
nice.
Wagner's The Ring Cycle. It's just this huge operatic epic, but everybody knows that because Bugs Bunny did it. Bugs Bunny had the, kill the wabbit, kill the wabbit, that was the wabbit. So, we've heard that theme, and I thought that music was great for that scene, and I just loved that scene. I think for me, that was my favorite scene of the whole series.
Nice.
Favorite scene.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, if they had put Mobius on a jet ski, maybe I would like that, just as much kind of a thing.
Maybe season 2.
Maybe season 2. Maybe. Maybe that's why I like jet skis so much.
I have to say with the different Lokis, and like what you're talking about with classic Loki, and we've seen the power that classic Loki has. I'll admit, before Avengers, I knew nothing about Loki. So when leading up to us doing this episode, I'd done a little bit of research on Loki, and come to find out in the comic books, Loki is extremely powerful. And he's not just powerful, he's actually very strong too.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a weak character at all. And they kind of portray Loki in the films as being somewhat weak. I mean, weak as in physical stature. Not, I'm not saying he's a weak character, but they portray him as meek. I think meek's a better
word. I think more meek is a good word. Right. Which
but,
is not what he is in the comics.
No, in the comics he's not. He's almost as powerful, if not as powerful as Thor himself.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So they've really toned him down physically in the films.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think it works fine, especially for Tom Hiddleston's version of him. I think it works fine, but I do like the fact that we got to see all these different versions. And, and it would have been nice to actually see that strength carried out in this. I think that was a missed opportunity. They should have done that. And I guess the closest we would come is classic Loki.
Yes.
But with him, it still wasn't a physical strength. It was more his powers per se. But that's a missed opportunity that they could have branched out a little bit more on that and actually showed the physical strength of Loki. So,
yep, agreed. Even in I listened to Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology book.
Okay.
And there's some great stories with Thor and some other. There's just some great stories in that. And Loki in there is much more powerful. But there's a great story with Thor, which is an absolute hoot as well. So, but anyway, I don't want to spoil it for anybody if you want to listen to it and stuff like that. But you're right. Loki is more powerful than what he has been shown in the Avenger films.
Right.
And then we get an inkling of that in Loki, just how powerful he can be, but is not.
Right.
But, and so maybe that's just a way to do character art, character development.
But see, that's one of those fun things with the multiverse, because you can show that and still keep the character that he is, but then show what he actually can be too. So,
yeah, because we are getting a season 2, right?
Oh yeah. It told us at the very end.
Oh, that's right. It did say at the very, very end they're coming back for season 2.
Right, and I mean, with the way it closed out, you knew it was happening anyway. So.
Right. Yes. So let's talk about any other aspects that you really liked to talk about, because I do want to move into what we didn't like.
I mean, there's a lot of things that I liked, and there's a lot of things that I can't remember because it's been a few weeks since I watched it. So yeah.
Right. So I'll start off, and I'm just going to start off with what I didn't like the most.
Okay.
I did not like the ending.
Really?
Yes. And not that story wise it made sense. It was totally fine.
Now wait a minute. When you say you didn't like the ending, do you not like the way they ended the particular part of the story, or are you saying you didn't like the cliffhanger? Because we also have the cliffhanger.
We have the cliffhanger. So here is great clarification. Thanks for asking that. As far as the story goes, I know it's setting up for this next thing of Marvel, what if and multiverse. And I got that. I understood that. I think I'm okay with that from a storytelling point of view. I'm not okay with it because that's how it ended. In other words, we spent 7 episodes leading up to what I was hoping for to be a grand ending to a season. I don't have any issues with the cliffhanger.
You don't feel there was a payoff?
There was no payoff for me. None.
I'll agree with you. I agree.
Because I expected some kind of big battle, but we got sword play and a kiss, between the two Lokis. You know what I mean? And that's not a finale for a season, kind of a thing, in my opinion. I have no problems with setting up. No, we get this guy,
generic guy.
Generic Bob. We'll call him Bob in this one.
I love how we're going to come up with names for everybody. We did this in our Star Wars Bad Batch episode.
If you haven't heard our Bad Batch episode, now, in all fairness, we got that from Jason Swank.
Yes.
that gave us the idea, and I think we're just running with it. So generic. So we get He Who Remains. Now, He Who Remains in the comics is really super old.
Or as we're going to call him, Bob.
Yeah, Bob. So Bob in this one, obviously is the actor for Kang the Conqueror. That was a nice surprise. I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's the actor for Kang. And I thought, oh, here's Kang the Conqueror. I'm like, oh, no, wait a minute. It's the good variant. And I want to get philosophical. You asked a question before the show. I want to give you kudos for that question. It was really good. We'll get back to that. But, is he good kind of a thing? But I'm just going to call him Good Bob. Good Bob.
I don't think he's good.
Well, I know. We'll get to that.
Okay.
I'm just classifying Bob. Because I'm just saying him Good Bob as compared to Bad Bob Kang the Conqueror.
Good Bob and Bad Bob.
Good Bob and Bad Bob. Bad Bob's Kang the Conqueror, because that's who it is.
Maybe we should make one of them like Good Bob Bob and then Bad Bob Robert. Right.
So that's the aspect of what I did not like. My dogs are going crazy again. Can you hear them?
Yeah, I hear them.
I'm sorry. Sorry, everybody, that my dogs are going crazy.
Maybe Loki's out there. He is the god of mischief, so he's stirring them up.
Right. So I would say I didn't like it because I wanted some type of closure to that part of the story. And that closure was the cliffhanger. And I'm like, all right, I want a closure and then move into the cliffhanger kind of a thing or something. I don't know. I just didn't like it.
Okay.
I felt like you spent all this time building up. And then we get Goofy Bob, Good Bob, Goofy Bob, whatever, where he's just, I don't know if he's insane or quirky or what the story is with it or, that kind of a thing. But I was like, I don't know. This is weird. I wanted some kind of epic battle, not...
So you think they should have actually battled Bob?
I don't know. I just felt wanting more. I had invested 8 hours for the most part. You know what I mean? For the series. Sure. And all it did was set up for what's coming next. And I don't like that. Okay. I want some kind of closure to that. I have no issues if you want to set up for something. In fact, I prefer it. You end one story, but yet you do a cliffhanger to keep me going for what's next. Excuse me. TV shows do it all the time.
Right.
They'll finish, your procedural dramas will set you, they'll have that story contained within that hour, but maybe there's an overarching story that happens.
Sure.
And that's kind of how I view these was there's an overarching story, but you didn't give me closure to this little itty bitty story part of it. I just felt like it fizzed out. It's like soda. I let my soda sit in the fridge for several days, and it lost all its fizz. My 2 liter.
And then you drink it and go, oh, ugh.
Yeah, and it's exactly how I feel about this episode, this series. There was some good effervescence in there. First open it, that's good stuff. I love that, kind of thing. But by the time we got to the end of it, I just felt like it fizzed out. And yes, I think it did a great job of setting up. I loved the viewpoint of the sacred timeline with all the branches. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to get the What If series and stuff like that. Sure. I'm beginning to let go of my continuity issues for characters. Multiverse kind of stuff. That's what I said at the beginning of this podcast episode. So, but I just felt like it fits. I don't know how you may have felt about it, but that's just where I was at with the episode. I think I enjoyed it so much, and it did help me start bending me to the concept of multiverse, that when it got to the end, I was like, well, this is kind of a letdown kind of a thing.
Actually, I think that's fair critique. I think that's very fair critique of it. I don't think I was quite as disappointed as you. Mm-hmm. But I get what you're saying. I totally get it. We had all this great story leading up to it, 8 episodes or whatever, and then we didn't get anything really epic at the end. No real meat to sink our teeth into.
Mm-hmm. It was just a setup.
Right. And it was a very good setup.
It's a good setup. It was a good setup.
Because
yes.
I did see that and I went, whoa, what? All right.
Right.
Yeah, I want more. I want more. But I got to say, if season 2 ends that way, I don't know if I'll want a season 3. I think you're right. You know, give me something epic at the end of this. Because it was kind of cotton candy.
The story that you're telling me that leads me to the next story, but you didn't. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, there should have been some kind of epic battle at the end or something, you know, and then we get that whole ending scene of Loki going back to the TVA, and they don't know who he is, which, that was pretty mind-blowing right there. It's like, what? And then they look off into the building of the TVA, and you see the statue of Kang instead of the statues of the 3 timekeepers or whatever they were called. Because before, that's what was there. But then it was like, oh, wait a minute. We're now in a different universe. This is not the same universe that we spent the last 8 episodes in. We're in a totally different universe. And then that comes down to, which Kang is this? Because obviously he said that there are multi-versions of himself. They're variants of himself.
Mm-hmm. And some not so nice.
Right. And I see, okay. Let's talk about Bob a minute.
All right, put on your bootstraps, folks. Here we go.
I don't think the Bob we're seeing here is nice. I don't think he is. And just from that whole when Sylvie stabs him and he gives her the wink and goes, "I'll be back."
Yeah, I'll see you later.
Right.
I'll see you later.
I'll see you later. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's him saying, "No, I'm not the nice one. I killed the nice one. He's gone." You know, I think that, and you know, this goes back to the old saying, "The devil we know better than the devil we don't know." You know, and that's kind of what I think we've got there. I think he's the devil, but I think we'd rather have him. I think he may be bad, but I think what we're about to get is worse.
All right, so we're moving into our philosophical realm, everybody.
Right.
Here we go.
Where's Aaron when we need him?
Right? Oh, my goodness, right? Holy
this
cow.
would be right up Aaron's alley.
It would be, yeah. Everybody, we're talking about Aaron McCoy with a Geek with a Bible podcast. He's a great thinker. Is he good or not? Is good Bob, goofy Bob? Is he good Bob, bad Bob? You know, or is he really King? Obviously, it is still the same person, no matter what. It's just variants. You know, they still have traits in common. We see that with all the different Lokis. There's certain traits in common, just how they're lived out is a little bit different.
President Loki.
Right. That's very funny. Let me put it this way. If you're asking in the sense of, okay, from a philosophical standpoint, and I'm trying to get my thoughts here together real quick, he's got to make hard decisions.
Agreed.
And in those decisions that he's making hard decisions to create what he called the sacred timeline. That's good. That's good marketing right there. It's not sacred timeline. It's his timeline.
Oh, yes. Yep.
So, in trying to keep one timeline together, the question it revolves around is whether or not he's good or not. And this is really, I'm just going to jump both feet in. It's the issue of free will.
Uh-huh.
Are you taking away free will? And we have a presuppositional slant to say that if you take away free will from someone, that is not good.
Which is where I'm going with this. I don't think he's good because
he's taken away free will.
Yep.
But yet at the same time, he's saying, but if I allow free will to happen, it's going to create a whole mess. Now, how Marvel wants to tell that story or whatever, I'm totally fine with. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Well, it's their story to tell.
It's their story to tell. That's fine. with the concept of free will is we all have within us, the whole thing about don't murder. We all say, well, murdering someone's bad. Well, why are we saying that? Because you're taking away that person's free will to live, kind of a thing. And so that's why that's bad. Well, the ends don't justify the means.
Well, it's like Aaron,
and that's what's happening here. It's that whole concept of the ends are everyone's living in harmony. We're not at war. We're not killing each other, blah, 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 blah. But yet, what's he doing? He's pruning people.
Right.
You're killing people. I don't care how pruning, you're wiping them out.
Well, see, okay, wait a minute. They don't actually kill him, though, because we saw that with Mobius. He went to another realm.
Yeah, but what's that other realm for? That other realm is for Eliath to wipe out anybody. What did he do? There's a whole big ship that dropped in. Blah, blah, blah.
I guess in a way,
because Loki's our survivors.
Yeah, well. Yeah, okay.
That's why you don't see a whole bunch of Thors there, just the frog Thor, because he's in the bottle.
And because they gave us a little fan service.
They did give us a little fan service, in all fairness, yes. But you don't see hardly any other variants there except what? Loki's.
Sure.
Because the other ones, as soon as they drop in, what happens? Oh, there comes Eliath.
The cloud.
Gobble, 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 gobble.
The cloud.
The cloud, yes. The cloud.
They're sucked up into the cloud.
Sucked up into the cloud. We live in the cloud. Gives that new meaning.
Yeah. You ever see Rocky Balboa? The last Rocky film?
Oh no, no, I haven't seen that one.
So I love Rocky, by the way. I'm a huge Rocky fan. There's only one Rocky film I don't like, and that's the one with the kid. I hate that movie. It was horrible. With the street fight at the end. Terrible, terrible, terrible Rocky movie. Don't ever, just skip it. But Rocky Balboa was the final Rocky that they have done, leading up to
before Creed.
Yeah, before Creed. Which Creed, I haven't seen Creed 2. Creed 1 was great, though. I love Creed 1.
It was good. I have not seen 2, but I've seen 1. It was good.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it was actually Creed this happened in. Yeah, it was Creed, not Rocky Balboa. Sorry, it was Creed 1.
Okay.
Yeah, when Creed, the young Creed, when he is harassing Rocky, he keeps going to him, asking him to train him, and Rocky's like, "No, I don't do that no more. I'm not doing that." And then finally, he says, "Well, can you give me some tips, some hints?" And and Rocky's like, "Fine," and starts telling him different things for working out and so on and so forth. And the kid's like, "Yeah, okay." And he goes, are you gonna write this down or anything? And the kid's like, "No, man, it's all in the cloud." And Rocky looks up at the sky and goes, "Which one?" I love that.
I forgot about that.
So Rocky Balboa, I love it. Anyway, squirrel.
Right on. Squirrel. All right. Well, anyway, so there's our philosophical rant on the whole aspect of
free will.
Do the ends justify the means, and as it relates to the concept of free will, and what is good or bad based upon that concept. If we have this innate thing within us that if you limit free will, that's bad.
Well, and we had a good discussion with that on our Joker discussion with Aaron too.
We did,
because Aaron talks about how, without the free will, you're basically, it's just a decision. I could murder somebody, I could eat a cookie, and it makes no difference whatsoever. So, yeah. That's what that comes down to. So,
yep, it sure does. So, I think that's what's behind that philosophical reference. I think is what's behind Loki.
Well, and I think we saw a lot of growth in his character, because at the beginning of this, Loki's kind of for himself, and and
he didn't want to be that person anymore.
Right. Yeah, and we see that growth throughout this season. So, I think that's really good character growth there, actually.
Yeah. All right. Well, my head hurts from all this talking philosophically. as a whole, I did enjoy the series. I did feel like kind of a letdown at the end. I was kind of, frustrated with how it ended. But I am looking forward to seeing what they do with the next season.
Agreed. I really liked the whole series. I thought it was good. And I guess I didn't have exactly the same feeling you did, but I get it. I completely get it. I think we did miss something there. But I think the setup for this next season got me pumped enough that I was like, okay, all right, we'll go on and see what happens here.
We'll see what happens.
Now, I got to admit, if season 2 ends the same way with no payoff whatsoever, I may be going, it might be time to clock out on this one. So
right.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interrelated with the rest of the Marvel phase.
Sure.
This phase, this part of the storytelling that they're doing. So, it'll be interesting to see, how the stories kind of collide and that kind of thing. I did hear that they changed the ending to WandaVision, the post-credit scene in WandaVision.
Oh,
they added something to it or whatever. So because of Loki or something like that. So,
well, I heard they took Doctor Strange out of it. Like Doctor Strange was supposed to make an appearance, and they pulled that.
So there's something about the ending or something, but anyway, we'll see. So obviously, we're setting up for. I think one of the things that was stated in the last. What did he say? What did Goofy Bob say? Goofy Bob said, "It will create a multiverse of madness, and there will be no way home."
Oh yeah, nice.
And it's like
nice setup for Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, No Way Home, and Multiverse of Madness is what the new Doctor Strange movie is.
Right? Yeah. Oh yeah. We got both the titles in there, and I'm still hearing that the rumors are that we're gonna get the 3 different Spider-Men in this next film, which I am so excited for. It's
exciting to see what they do and how they do it.
Man, that will be so much fun if we get all 3. I don't know how much of the film they're going to be in it. I have no idea what the details on that are. But oh man, I want it. I want it so bad.
Right.
Maybe I shouldn't get my hopes up too high.
Right. Don't expect too much,
right.
And then you'll be pleased.
And then I go see the movie, and I'm like, I don't like this. This isn't what I wanted.
I didn't want a post-credit scene where they were just pointing at each other.
Right. I could have done that myself.
Right. I got my own headcanon. It's much better than
much
that.
More better. Awesome.
Hey, everybody. Right. Any last thoughts, Mike, or anything about Loki?
No, I like I said, I enjoyed the series. I think I agree with you on the ending. But overall, I thought it was a good series. I still stick with 4.5 for the series as an overall. Yeah.
As an overall. Yep. I'm still 4 out of 5. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching the whole thing, and then the ending I've already stated. But as a whole, it was good. I thought Tom Hiddleston did a great job with it, and I am looking forward to seeing how they tie in with season 2. I am, and stuff. All right. Well, hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us for this little. We got a little more time in this than I thought we would.
Yeah, actually.
Kind of a thing. So anyway, everybody, thanks so much for joining us here on 2 Geeks and a Microphone podcast. We appreciate you and appreciate your time with us. Mike, do you want to sign us out?
All right. With that said, thank you all for joining us. Over and out, and may the force be with you. Thank you for joining us today on the 2 Geeks and a Microphone podcast. Tune in next week when we will have more news and reviews. Until then,
may the force be with you.